What's going on, guys? Guys here. Welcome back to another video. Now in today's video we're going to go with the 4-2-3-1 tactics and instructions post patch. This is probably the most meta formation, always will be, and it's probably the most stable formation to give you wins. I guarantee if you use this formation, your play will naturally just improve. Now this formation, from a defensive to attack transition, you basically have the same system, but the most important thing is being unpredictable. So we changed it up with the new thing, with the new aspects post patch. It still is like a 4-striker formation. You have your lamb, your ram, and your cam, and your striker. The benefit of this over the 4-2-3-1 is you have that cam, you have that central player in the middle of the pitch, so you don't have a gap between your strikers and your wingers and your centre mids. That's one of the benefits of the 4-2-3-1 over the 4-4-2. We have the striker and the cam on stay forward, so you have the link up player. I think it's really important for the quick 1-2s between the striker and the cam, the 1-2s. So that's why we've got them both on stay central or stay forward. So it almost acts as a 4-4-1-1 when you're building up, and then it turns into a 4-2-3-1 in a final third. So we have them both on stay forward, so acting like a centre forward and a striker. In a 4-striker formation, the lamb and the ram, they come from very deep. They make the darting runs going forward and help getting behind your opponent's defender, especially now everyone's playing a narrow width. So those cams, those wide cams running in behind now are more important now than anything. Now moving over to, I suppose you can say, the centre mids. Now the centre mid, we have one of them on stay back while attacking, but we have this time we changed one of them to have them on balance. Now what this is going to do is going to have you the element of surprise in the middle of the pitch. So let's say you're in the final third and you are attacking, you kind of want that person to be running deep inside the box, the Ramsey-esque player, to come late inside the box to help your attack even more. When people are parking the bus and you have 4 strikers up front and you kind of want that extra person in midfield, the benefit of having that play on balance is that they make that surging run forward and help break the gaps in the middle. One thing that we changed this time is that we have the lamb and the ram on free roam. Now this is only in the final third, even though they're on free roam. This only really works in the final third. So when you're building up in the 4-2-3-1, 4-4-1 hybrid. But once you're in a final third, this is when the lambs and the rams, they come into their own. So what the idea of free roam is, you only have your central cam on balanced. So the idea is the 2 cams around the central cam on free roam. So when you do get into let's just say for example your central cam goes to like a wide area, then your wide cam will fill in the void in the middle. So it's really effective. But the most important thing is you don't want to touch the central cam. You need that link up player to be where he is. But the inside and outside, they can be on free roam, then get into the box sporadically as they want to. Now defensively, we changed it a little bit now. I think people want to have fun now. I think of course you want to win in Foot Champions, but you also want to have fun. I think people want to press as well, so we've gone with a defensive style which presses a bit more than usual. You lock down in a 4-2-3-1 narrow. As I said, one of the CDMs on stay back while attacking. The other one's going to come help and reinforce. So you're going to defend in a narrow 4-2-3-1. Very compact, very centralized in the middle corridor or the pitch. So it's very good defense. The lamb and the ram, they kind of tuck inside and they help prevent you to getting doubled up against in the 4-4-2 or the 4-2-3-1s. So defensively, it's really stable. And also the natural shape of the 4-2-3-1, the central cam and the striker, they basically deter your opponent from playing out of the back or kind of pinning you in your box. So it's really effective. But without further ado, let's get straight into the tactics and instruction. Now in terms of the tactics, now we're going to go over what I've changed. So the defensive style, I've always gone with balance, but for this time we've gone on pressure on heavy touch. Now I'll explain to you why. Now I'm opposed to using drop back because obviously after the patch where they nerfed drop back, the players don't press, it's pointless using it. Balance is normally the way to go in most formations, but in this one we've gone pressure on heavy touch. The reason why is now people are playing a bit more defensively, they're holding the ball a lot, and you're generally speaking, they're passing the ball around, but you want your players to press when your opponent loses or messes up or makes a mistake. So if you do lose the ball, let's say your opponent makes a mistake, you want your team to press. So what pressure and heavy touch is, as you can see on the bottom right, your team only press when your opponent makes a major mistake, and there's a good chance statistically of you winning the ball. So it's like playing balance the entire game, but your team and AI helps you press when your opponent makes a mistake, as opposed to press out of possession loss. This is a question I get asked a lot. Should I use press out of possession loss? Well, you shouldn't, because even when you lose the ball, or let's say for example your opponent makes a mistake, your team press anyway. Now sometimes the opponent might not make a major mistake, he might lose the ball, but if your team presses for 7 seconds, you could get counter-attacked severely. That's why if you're not that experienced in the game and you're a gold 1 player and below, it's really going to affect you. I really wouldn't use press out of possession loss. Obviously the stamina gets affected as well because you're always pressing for 7 seconds, but the fact you're pressing every single time is not efficient, whereas if you use pressure on heavy touch, you're basically playing balance the entire game, and it's only when your opponent makes a major mistake then your players press, and then you capitalize. So that's why I've got my pressure on heavy start, just to make it a bit more fun as well. I think everyone's getting bored and mundane of playing defensive way, and as I said, people pass around the back a lot now, so this is your chance of getting the ball. Now the width, now remember, overload the ball size now being nerfed, so no one's using overload the ball size now. So now we've gone away from the traditional wide width that we've normally gone to, and we've gone to a width of 4. Now I think 4 is the balance between being narrow but not being too narrow so your wings are open. I think if you go towards a width of 3, which I see people are doing, the only downside is down the wings you're going to be really open, because your defensive width is, you're quite centralized as a team, but your wing areas are really going to be able to be exploited by your opponent. So what you want is to have a width where your left back and right back, they occupy this space in the wing, but they don't give a nut. So that, but when the through ball is made from your opponent, your players can then basically latch onto it rather than them being too central and your opponent's knowing, obviously, okay, there's a gap. Because if you have, for example, a 2 width here, as you can see, naturally speaking, there's a massive gap anyway, so your opponents will keep trying to play driven passes down the line. You don't want that. That's going to irritate you more than anything, especially on a counter attack. So we've gone with a width of 4, so it's just below normal, but you're still keeping it quite narrow and compact, so it's still good. Now with the depth, we've gone with the depth all the way back to 3. I still think 3 is the most OP one. With 2, I think you're giving your opponent too much space outside the box when you're defending, and I think when you go any higher, you're basically giving your opponents a space to get in behind and to play a through ball in behind your defensive line. So 3 gives you, I think, the cute balance between not being too far back where you can get pinned, and also not being too far forward where your opponent can play a through ball in between your defenders. So 4 and 3, I think depth of 3, I think will always be the same, I think, static throughout all formations, just naturally of how good it is. Now offensive style, the one thing that we've changed is balanced or long ball. We've gone with long ball this time, back to long ball. The reason why is when overload the ball size first came out, it was kind of pointless having players to get it behind because people were just parking the bus. What people are doing now is maybe that they're parking the bus in the same way, but they're not playing overload the ball side. So naturally speaking, you want the wingers or the lambs to run, make the darting runs forward. Don't forget as well, with the 4-2-3-1, big as the cams, don't forget with the 4-2-3-1, big as the cams don't have to get in behind instruction, the long ball actually replicates the L1 trigger. So you know when you want a player to make a run forward to get in behind, you can't set that instruction for a cam. So even though it's a long ball, basically essentially makes those cams run forward. So you're not actually playing long ball. This is just allowing your players to make runs going forward. You know when your 4 strikers kind of go forward in the darting formation, it's really effective. And plus you have your center mid on balanced, who's going to make those darting runs from deep in midfield. So that's why you want it on long ball, so he can basically make those runs on his own. You have to trigger it manually, and also you have the lamb and the ram making the darting runs down the wing. Now with the width, we've gone with just 1 below normal on 4. I just think you just want to be a bit more centralized with this formation because of the fact as well it's on free roam in the final third. I want my players to be just a bit more closer to the middle, so when they do interchange, or let's say for example they happen to get near the box, they can play the quick 1-2s between them. So that's why we're going with a width of 4. Now with the players in the box, we've just gone with 6. I think this just gives the best balance. Again, this one's been important this time compared to most other formations because the centre mid's on balance, so it is very important. And corners and free kicks, you can change it to however you like. Obviously too high and too low. Too high, you're going to be susceptible to the counter attack. I personally pass my corners, so if you pass your corners, go with like 1 or 2. And free kicks, I pass mine as well. So I normally have mine both on 1. So I have the passing options to build up in a set piece. Now going over the instructions now. We have my striker on stay forward, stay central. Again, we don't have him on getting behind. We have the long ball tactic anyway, so this player will attempt to make runs in behind anyway at some occasions. The reason I want him on balance is if this guy keeps running in behind, especially if in a final third, if your opponent's parking a bus, he's just going to run into your opponent's defense. You want this person to get the ball to his feet. That's why I wouldn't recommend target man, because you're restricting it to just getting the ball to your feet. You want him to be on balance, so he does a bit of everything. So sometimes he runs it behind, sometimes he kind of holds his ground and gets the ball to his feet. So you can do a fake shot around your opponent, and you're always going to have that player at the strikers. You can do the quick 1-2 with a cam. Now with a central cam, when he's on stay forward as well, that's obviously important. So you kind of, when you defend, they don't really come back, but it kind of occupies the opponent's space, so they can't build up with the CDMs. Now your central cam is on stay forward. Again, as you said, the 2 strikers on stay forward. So it's like a 4-4-1-1, like a center forward and a striker. The most important thing I would say here, in my opinion, is that Because they're both on stay forward, you have the link up player, so you always have the striker just in front of the cam. So whenever you get the ball with the cam, the striker is always going to be in front. And that's why it's very, very important to not put this player on get into the box or stay edge of the box. You want this player to naturally go into the box depending on the situation. Let AI make that decision for you. Trust me, when you get to a wing position down here and you need this player to get into the box, then he will do it. But naturally speaking, you don't want him to be always getting into the box because you want that link up player there just in case you're getting pinned and you want to put someone so you can pass the ball back outside to the box. Now, the most important thing is you don't want this guy on free roam. Now, I wouldn't say put all 3 cams on free roam because you need the central cam to always stay there. You don't mind these players, they can be free roam, they can interchange anyone, they can interchange with a center mid if they want to, that's fine. But that central cam, you need him to be there because if he's on free roam, what could happen is he could be down here. Neymar, for example, then you got no one in the middle and you got no one to link up your entire play together. So it's really important you put this guy on balance on default. Let him stick to his position, leave him just behind the striker. I promise you it's the most effective way. But the Lamb and the Ram is a bit different. So Lamb and the Ram, we have them on balance, so they're still going to come back on the fence. Obviously a high or medium high. Some variation of like a high medium will be decent, I would say, in this situation, because they're still going to come back naturally. Because don't forget, when there's no instruction given to a player, they adhere naturally to their work rates. But they're still going to go back anyway, so defensively they're still going to help come back and defend. The only thing I would say is get into the box. So the reason why is because we have them on free roam. So let's say, for example, Neymar does go down the wing, then that means your Lamb will kind of go inside on free roam if there is a position down the wing to get the ball. So generally speaking, get into the box is very, very effective for the cross-snap situations. The reason why I said on a free roam is you want to have the ability to be unpredictable. Now, they would generally stay in their positions. It's only when, for example, if, for example, Neymar goes wide, for example, then, for example, your Ram might come in and centralize his position temporarily. Let's say, for example, Renato Sanchez goes forward or your CDM, then Kalou might take his role. So basically what you're doing is you're doing like temporary roles, and I think this is very effective in the final third to be unpredictable because most people have good players now. You know, when the game came out, you only had mainly a good strike and a cam, but now your Lambs are pretty good. So players like Atal work very well in the system because they can interchange, and this helps you be unpredictable because let's say, for example, you have Neymar in the middle, then suddenly Neymar's out wide and he's got a 5-star weak foot. It really plays with your opponent's mind. They think, have you changed formation? What's changed this way? So it is really, really effective. Now for both the CDMs, now the only difference we've changed from last time is we have one of them on cut passing lane, stay back while attacking, cover center. That's completely the same as usual. We have one on balance. Now you can use either one on balance, so you can choose whichever one you want. Don't forget both the Lamb and the Ram are on free roam, so if the center mid does run forward, don't forget, even though they don't have the get in behind option, because we have, again, going back to our tactics, because we have the long ball tactic, these players are going to make the darting runs forward. So wherever you want to make those last minute runs, that Ramsey-esque runs, you want to leave them on balanced. The only thing I would say for the player that's making a run going forward, the most important thing, I'll be honest, is having a balance. If you have, for example, 2 players on balanced, it's not going to work well. You need to have one guy on stay back while attacking, one guy in cut pass lanes, one guy in cover center, and then the other one you need to have him on balanced, and cover center. Make sure it's on cover center as well. Defensive behavior, you can use cut passing lanes, but I think just because this player is, naturally going forward, sometimes he can man mark the run when he's running back and defending. So let's say, for example, he's going forward, for example, when he's coming back and defending, if there's someone else running with him, he can track that run manually. So that's why I left it on balance. So I can let AI decide on a situation, rather than it's always split in opposition. But with other CDM, we've gone on cut passing lanes. It's probably the most effective method. I'm sure you guys know that already for defensively. Now, in terms of the centre backs, normal default, same with the goalkeeper. The left back and the right back on stay back while attacking, as usual, nothing there. Obviously, they don't overlap. So again, this is the reason why they don't overlap, is if you leave them on balance. Now, this is one thing that's quite important. If you leave them on balance, sometimes what will happen is they will make a run going forward, and your Lamb, because your Lamb's on free roam, he might go down the wing, and basically your left back might come to a centralized inverted position. Now, you don't want your wide cam down the wing and your left back, who's a defensive player, on the inside. You don't really want that. So that's why you don't want to put them on balance. You don't want to put them on invert. You want to put them on overlap. It's very important you do this, because if you do trigger a player forward using L1, they do go forward, you make sure they always go around your cam. So that way, if Neymar interchanges and then your Lamb can go inside, it'll work perfectly. If you have a situation where he's on balance, he might go inside. If Neymar kind of goes over here, then what happens is your left back occasionally might occupy the position, and then your Lamb might be drifted out even more. So again, it's very important to have this play on overlap. Even if, remember, this is another thing people get confused as well. The players are always going to stay back while attacking. Overlap is just a run type. They're always going to stay back. If you want them to get forward, I wouldn't recommend balanced. I'll be honest, I think it's pointless using balanced. If you want them to get forward, use the D-pad attacking fullbacks on the D-pad tactics. So you just press up on the D-pad, and I think you press left. So you press up on the D-pad, then you press left. This will initiate attacking fullbacks, and then both the left backs and right backs will run forward. And it's like a light switch. You can turn it on and off whenever you want. I would say it's better to have manual control yourself rather than always send them forward. So that's why I would say either one stay back while attacking. So if you're losing, you can have them get forward, let's say in 70 minutes. If you're winning, what you can do is you can just lead them on stay back the entire time. So that's the way I would do it, and that's probably the best. So I think it's going to be the most used formation, I think, moving forward. One other fun thing I would say is if you are struggling with this formation defensively, what you can do is you can put this on balance. So if you're coming back to this video and let's say, for example, you find that you struggle defensively, put this on balanced, then go to the instructions and put these guys on comeback and defense. Put these guys on comeback and defense, and then leave the cam on balanced. Don't leave them on stay forward, leave them on balanced, because with the two strikers on stay forward, the Lamb and the Ram, they will come back. That's fine. They will come back and they'll basically create the midfield four. But with your cam being on stay forward, he was going to stay forward like in a centre forward most of the time. If you leave him on balance, that way at least he'll come back a little bit. He won't come back defensively right in middle of the centre mids, but he'll come back a little bit. So that's what I would do if you're struggling defensively. That's the only thing I would change. Now, as I said, this is a formation that can be used in all aspects. It's both an attacking formation and defensive formation. It's very stable. It's made deliberately as well, so these players are stable. When they come back on the fence, or let's say they're on balance, when they come back, long ball will help them making direct runs going forward. As I said, don't forget, unlike the striker where there is actually a getting behind option, there's no getting behind option for the cams. And again, that's why we use long ball, because long ball is not, it's not like you're playing a lob balls forward as it kind of depicted in this kind of heat map kind of thing. It's more that the players make runs going forward, and it's really important because your cams, they don't have a getting behind option, so you want them to make runs going forward naturally, and you can't do that with balance unless you trigger the runs manually. So the most important thing is you have them on long ball. But anyways, that's the video. As I said, you still remain the integrity of the formation. In the build-up play, you can still do the 1-2s. You still have the butterfly wings. I like to call them the triangle wings. You can do the 1-2s with your cam, do a 1-2, run down the wing, and do a through ball with your right back. Still the most effective way of getting through. And you still have the 4-striker formation when you're attacking. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy. Do you have any other questions? Of course, let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget, I stream at twitch.tv/NilGuides. Link will be in the description down below. Thank you very much for watching, boys. Take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.